and welcome to day one of Inktober. Giving this challenge a go again in 2018, hoping I stick with it a bit longer. I notice I get into these creative challenges about, I don't know, the 5th to the 8th day in, and I stop. But I'm hoping to stick with it. In order to succeed, I did add some more elements to it that I think will help me. I don't do super great with prompt lists, so I may pull from a prompt list here and there, but I didn't commit to that. I also didn't commit to draw every day. So if I do, that'll be an added bonus. But then I just don't let myself down or let anybody down. I didn't promise anything. So I've just kept my goals very small and just in the present moment. So like today, I decided I wanted to draw a funny cat. I think that the cats with the little smushy, angry faces are hilarious. So I just looked some cats up and started sketching cats, and I got pretty excited about this one. I thought he looked hilarious, so threw him on a broomstick, gave him a hat, and so because he looks pretty mad about that. I don't think he wanted to wear a costume, so I thought that was pretty fun. And also to motivate myself, I thought I would do some drawing lessons because I like to teach art. So I thought, well, I will throw in an element where I am teaching people how to draw if anybody is interested. And I did send out a request for things to draw, and people did put animals, cats on there. So I thought, okay, I'll go with that. And then pumpkins, and we had a request for botanicals, and probably some whimsical type girls, it sounded like. So I will be doing variations on those themes as well to get everybody's requests taken care of also. So this one, I just decided to break out a bunch of my Pentel brush markers and use those. Last year I bought the Color Brush by Pentel, which is the one I'm using now. This one's in gray, and I thought that would be a lot of fun to use, make the cat gray and white. And then I also, so I'm trying to go in there real smooth so I don't overlap where I've already colored or it gets darker there unless I want it to be darker there. So that's something to keep in mind if you want like that smooth wash type effect and you don't want streaks. Don't keep going over one area and not another area because you want it all to blend and look nice. So that's one thing I learned when I was using this brush pen, and I really like it. It has a nice point in it, or you can push it down and it has a nice fat area too to fill in a lot, and it really makes like nice little fur pieces, as you can see. As if I really lightly pull out really quick, makes me this fur really nice. And then again, you'll see me going over the eyes. I go over to make that darker. So I use this brush pen for a lot of the drawing, and I really like these Pentel brush pens a lot. And just filling all that in, and then this one is like a gray color. And I'm going to use that on the broomstick and the broom here. And so I'm going in with shadow there, right there. So on the underneath of the broom, I do layer a bit more to get some shadow there. And then the rest I try to just do smooth. I just go over once. So I'm being very, very full of intention when I'm doing this. I'm just knowing that I'm not going to overlap anything except for where I want it to be a little bit darker. And then just having fun pulling out really quick to make it look like, you know, the straw on the broom. And these are neat because it gives you that dry brush effect too if you go really light on the paper. And I'm using a hot press watercolor paper. Now I'm going in with the pocket brush by Pentel, and this one's black. And I really, really, really like this one. This one last year was a challenge for me, but I think I've gotten a little better with it. A light touch and you get the finest line, and then you can press a little more and your line will get thicker. And it is just the nicest blackest black. So really, really like the ink in this one, and it's refillable so you can change it out. And when I bought it, it came in a set of 2. It had 2 of the pens in there, and then it had some refills. So here, again, being very deliberate, keeping some areas white there so that you can distinguish differences, areas, since we are using flat color here. Wanted to notate where the brim is and where the underneath of the hat is, so I left a little bit of white there, and then just keeping some white on there just to show light hitting the hat and everything too. Going into the broom and adding shadow there on some of the pieces of straw and adding the little where you tie it together, and then going back over the broomstick and adding more shadow to define that broomstick, which I thought came out really nice. I was very happy how that came out. And then we'll add some shadow under the paws and things too, from sitting on the broom and on the tail, because the tail's behind the broomstick. So just having a lot of fun, just using a few values really, if you think about it, to create dimension here. And again, keeping in mind, so it's a lot like watercolor, if you guys follow me, keeping in mind where I want to keep the whites, because ink will not lift up. I tried. So these are very waterproof. So, but do be careful, because I did notice some of it remains wet and you can smear it a little. So I did, before, you'll see my next step where I add a wash to the background, I did dab everything with a tissue so that I didn't accidentally touch a part and then have a whole bunch of the black bleed out into the wash. So you'll see that in a little bit here. But just adding my shadows and my darker values now. And then I was looking at this and I was thinking, oh, do I want to line, oh, well, here, we'll talk about this first. So adding a little water in there. And then I'm going to touch my Pentel Color Brush pen, the gray, and just adding a little bit into the eyes. See how that looks like there's shadow from the hat now? And I left part of his little snoot white, so because it would be sticking out a bit. And then, yeah, I was looking at this and I was deciding if I wanted to leave them like this or if I wanted to add more line work ink. And I did decide I wanted to add more line work. I thought that that would look cool. I could have left it like this. I like this too. But here I am using another Pentel. So I used all Pentel pens. I really like this pen. And this pen is the Pentel Hybrid Technica in 0.4. And I really like this. It writes really smooth and it's fine. And look at how black that black is. So it's perfect for adding details. Love it, love it, love it. And I'll have that in the supplies below. I'll put everything down there so you can see what I used. But I'm really happy with all the supplies I used. I'm having a lot of fun with these. I thought I might use microns, but I didn't this time. So just using the Pentel brush pens and then this Pentel Hybrid Technica pen. I really like this. So it was a lot of fun. And then I used my brush just a little bit for some washes. Just like a little, I don't know, it's nothing special. It's just like you can get at Hobby Lobby or Michael's, just a little watercolor brush. And doing that. So just kept going through and adding. I just want him to look real scraggly. He looks so mad. I just thought it was cracking me up. And just making sure to go in the correct direction. So if you look at like a picture of a cat, you see how their fur moves like away from their snoot and their eyes and things, and just kind of paying attention to that and making sure you're doing that will make it look more realistic. So that's all I was doing there. And then kind of off screen a little bit, but I was just adding a few more details to the broom there. And then where I wanted finer lines or a little more depth and dimension, adding that to the face and the hat. And then I decided I did want some more detail on the broomstick, and I wanted to add, and I wanted to add that moon behind the cat to make him pop out more. So I'm wetting everything but that circle area. And I'm being careful not to touch that hat because it has a lot of ink on it still, but I did dab it with the tissue. Just something to be aware of. And make sure everything is wet before you put this wash down, because once you put it down, it does not really move unless your paper is wet. It'll just, it won't make a smooth wash if you don't want your paper, basically, is what I'm telling you. So you can drop it in, but you got to move quick because you'll get some very definite lines if you don't. So make sure to keep everything wet so that the ink will keep moving into it and it'll stay smooth looking. And I want it to look cloudy, so that's why I dropped some darker areas here and there. But just keep moving and keep everything damp there or wet so that the ink moves, because once you put ink down, it doesn't seem to want to go anywhere. So that's the difference with watercolor. You can kind of lift watercolor a bit, but ink, it's down for good. So if you don't want any harsh lines or anything like that, and you want a smooth wash, just make sure everything is wet. And I watered down some PH Martin ink first. Like I have a little palette off to the side, and I put a couple drops in my palette, and then I poured some water into that well, and so it's already watered down. It's not even close to at full saturation. So that's how I got this look in the background, because I wanted the cat to stand out. So I wanted the cat to be the darkest thing. So that's why I did it that way. And here's the finished piece. Thank you so much for joining me, and comment below. I'd love to see if you're participating this year.